Welcome to Stories in the Seventh State, where we bring Maryland stories to life. I'm your host, Shane Hall, and each week we'll explore the real, the remarkable, and the rarely told stories that shape life in the Seventh State. From local legends to hidden histories and modern-day makers, these are the stories that define Maryland.
If you're a Marylander, you do not have a state flag. You, my friend, you have a brand. This is not just a banner, it's a culture. It's on your bumper stickers, your hats, your boat flags. It's painted across the end zones of football stadiums. It's emblazoned on every lacrosse uniform. It's one of the most recognizable and frankly ubiquitous state symbols in the entire nation. The Maryland flag is the visual mic drop of state banners. California's got a pretty cool one, South Carolina's got a pretty cool one, Texas has a recognizable one, but nothing is as bold or loud, and if you live here, it is absolutely inescapable. The Maryland flag is incredible. Take a moment and look at the other flags of America. Most of them are forgettable. A state seal on a simple blue field, a design choice that vexillologists, those are experts who study flags, universally disparage. And then there's Maryland. This flag is the outlier. It's the one that broke every rule and somehow became a masterpiece. It's consistently ranked as one of the best flags, not only in our country, but in North America in general. And it's actually a work of medieval European heraldry that functions perfectly as a piece of modern American branding. And yet to a flag designer, the Maryland banner is an anomaly. A good flag is supposed to have just, something simple on it, something that a child could draw. According to the flag experts, the Maryland flag is complex. A good flag is supposed to use 3 colors or fewer. We got 4: black, gold, red, and white. The reason that this flag works, the reason that it fairly shouts Maryland, as the flag experts say, is precisely because it is complicated. It's not just a flag, it's a historical document. And if you know how to read it, it tells the story of a state that was violently ripped in half and then painfully, but deliberately, stitched back together. This flag is not one design. It's actually 2 distinct family shields locked into forced quarters. And to understand this forced marriage of symbols, we have to travel back to 17th century England, because the entire story begins with a profound act of religious defiance. The man who started it all was called George Calvert. He was the first Baron of Baltimore. Calvert was a strong Roman Catholic believer in England that had become intensely Protestant and intolerant. The persecution was systematic. Catholics were fined, barred from public office, and forbidden from seeking any kind of Catholic education for their children. So facing this pressure, Calvert sought to establish a safe haven in the New World, a colony where Christians of all persuasions could worship freely. In 1632, he was granted the province of Maryland. So when George Calvert created the coat of arms for this new colony, he didn't just use his own family crest. He used 2. And this is a crucial detail, kind of a quirk of English heraldic law that would define Maryland history for centuries. The shield featured on the banner is a quartered design that integrates the arms of his father, George Calvert, with those of his mother, Alicia Crossland. So the first and fourth quarters, these are the bold gold and black diagonal stripes, that is the design of the Calvert paternal arms. So that black and gold that you see, those are the original Maryland colors recognized throughout the colonial period. The second and third quarters, the red and the white fields with the specific trefoil-tipped cross, that is the Crossland maternal arms. The shield features the cross-botany counterchanged, meaning the cross is red where the background is white, and white where the background is red. Now, you guys, this might not seem interesting right now, but bear with me, because it's about to heat up. Calvert was entitled to honor his mother's powerful lineage because she was a heraldic heiress. It was a simple genealogical formality executed centuries before the state even existed. There's an ancient law used to honor the matriarch of a family in the 1500s, and that created the fault line for a civil war that would erupt 300 years later. For decades after the American Revolution, Maryland largely discarded the colonial symbols, using generic state seals on a blue background. A design that is now universally criticized by experts. The state was left really with kind of a flag void. The Calvert coat of arms, the basis for our modern flag, was reintroduced into the public sphere in 1854 through a law mandating a new state seal, followed by a more accurate version, 1876. Well, think about the timing, though. This complex quartered shield, which contained two legitimate yet distinct symbols of Maryland's proprietary past, were formally resurrected and made official just before the storm of the Civil War had arrived. Now, this intentional reappearance of the complicated heraldry unintentionally provided the perfect symbolic vocabulary needed for this impending conflict. The state's deepest conflict ultimately found its emblems not in newly invented banners, but in pre-existing quartered structure of the Calvert shield. Let me elaborate. Let's fast forward to 1861. Maryland is not just divided, it's one of the most dangerously divided states in the Union. It was a slave state with deeply rooted Southern sympathies, particularly concentrated in Baltimore, the Eastern Shore, and the southern counties of Maryland. And when President Lincoln called for troops, the situation immediately exploded. Just 5 days after Fort Sumter, the Baltimore riot of 1861 erupted when pro-secessionist mobs attacked the 6th Massachusetts Infantry marching through the city. The riot was led by a man carrying a rebel flag. Maryland was immediately placed under martial law, and its loyalties were completely fractured. In this climate, citizens needed clear, immediate, visible signals of loyalty and defiance. There was no internet. I don't even know if we have telephones at that time. And the two halves of the Calvert shield were immediately and violently separated into two opposing political banners. So you had the Union standard and the secession symbol. Let's talk about the Union first. The Union standard was black and gold. Union loyalists sought symbols to identify their home state while affirming their loyalty to the North, and they quickly embraced the familiar. So that would be your black and gold, that Calvert paternal arms section of what we know today to be our flag. These were known as the Maryland colors or the Baltimore colors and represented a state that, however reluctantly, stayed within the Union. Union Army regiments from Maryland fighting in the Army of the Potomac utilized the black and gold on their flags and their uniforms. Now, conversely, the secessionist symbol was the red and white. Marylanders that were sympathetic to the Confederacy needed a symbol that was both uniquely Marylander, yet defiant of those Union-claimed colors. They reached for the obscure maternal lineage. That's the red and white Crossland maternal arms. This was strategic and symbolic move. Since the Unionists had co-opted the primary state symbol, the secessionists utilized the maternal arm. How about that? It provided a unique and defiant alternative that was still rooted in the state's founding heraldry. The red and white combination instantly became known as the secession colors, which wasn't theoretical. This was total symbolic warfare. Now, following Lincoln's election, the red and white symbols appeared everywhere as a widespread civilian resistance. So, from yarn stockings, cravats, and clothing, a deliberate, widespread display of defiance had ensued. In the military, Marylanders who fought for the Confederacy adopted the specific shape of the Crossland crest. The Maryland-born Confederate soldiers pinned that metal cross botany shape into their gray uniforms and caps as a unique and powerful way of identifying their place of birth and their defiance of the Union. Most explicitly, the headquarters flag, or guidon, of Maryland-born Confederate General Bradley T. Johnson was clearly a red cross botany on a white field, the Crossland arms used as a banner of war. The state was literally fighting a war over which quarter of Lord Baltimore's ancient family crest was acceptable. That's kind of crazy when you think about it. Now, the federal response confirms how seriously the North took this symbolic resistance. Federal forces under commanders like General John A. Dix vigorously prosecuted individuals who displayed any red and white symbols of resistance. Anyone that was caught wearing the colors could be jailed for treason. The control of these colors was central to establishing federal authority in the dangerously divided border state. This symbolic suppression reached a point of high drama, even inspiring a famous piece of political satire in September of 1861. General John A. Dix, the commander in Baltimore, had issued orders forbidding the display of Confederate colors. This satire that circulated mocked the severity of the control, claiming General Dix had officially forbidden red and white barber poles, all peppermint candy, and most comically warned citizens with red hair to dye that blue. That's kind of funny. And while it's a pretty good joke, the historical record confirms the efficacy and the seriousness of the order. Dix later informed General McClellan that his orders were effective, noting that after that crackdown, there were no secession flags that were exhibited in Baltimore for many weeks. You know, I do kind of wonder if back in those days they also had that sexy Baltimore accent. Well, there was no secession flag that had been exhibited in Baltimore for many weeks. Think about it. The colors were not a peripheral matter. I mean, they were the central vocabulary of political resistance. The state was symbolically torn apart. I mean, you had two halves of a single family crest ripped into opposing military banners. That's crazy. And can you imagine today if we had the same instance? And, you know, it's 2025 today, and people can argue that there is a civil war of ideology underneath the surface of all the things that we have here in America, not just Maryland, but it's pretty interesting to think back on what they were going through in the Civil War and how what we see today as this awesome brand, this Maryland flag, when it resurfaced, we weren't sure if we were going to be a country much longer. So when the war finally ended, the state was faced with the ultimate, immediate political problem, which was Reconstruction. So how do you integrate thousands of Confederate veterans back into a state that had remained in the Union? They needed a symbol, a political contract that could welcome them all back without dishonoring those who died for the Union. They needed a flag that acknowledged both loyalties without declaring one side victorious. The solution was really a work of political genius. This is where we get our combined banner. So starting around the 1880s, the design that we know today, the 4 alternating quadrants, began appearing at public events. It was adopted, as one newspaper put it, by common consent. And this new configuration instantly represented reconciliation. It said visually, both of our pasts are part of our future. This was first flown, the flag that we know today was first flown publicly on October 11th, 1880, in Baltimore during a parade celebrating the city's 150th anniversary. But the most potent declaration of this compromise came 8 years later, on October 25th, 1888, at the most sacred and contested site of the war, the Gettysburg battlefield. Maryland was there to dedicate monuments to its Union regiments of the Army of the Potomac, and at that ceremony the combined flag was flown. This was the ultimate political statement. They were flying the flag that visibly contained the red and white Crossland arms, the symbol worn by Confederate soldiers at the site of the Union's greatest victory. It finalized the flag's purpose as a symbol of unity, not victory, for all Marylanders. The popular support for the flag was formally recognized by the General Assembly, which officially adopted the current design in March of 1904. This intentional act of healing is why the flag is such a powerhouse of modern identity. It's the defining visual shorthand for Maryland pride. Its cultural saturation really far outstrips that of any other state flags in the country. You don't really have to look much further than the University of Maryland that uses this flag design across all of its sports, most famously in its collaboration with the Baltimore-based athletic apparel company Under Armour. They developed the high-profile Maryland Pride uniforms using helmets that were hand-painted with the flag design, which brought the state's iconography some national visibility. You look at our professional teams in the region, the flag's influence is even visible there. I mean, you have the Baltimore Ravens who incorporate the flag's patterns into secondary logos in their gear and their end zones. You have the Baltimore Orioles featuring a Maryland State-inspired patch on the sleeve of their jerseys. There is micro-branding everywhere with this flag. The passion filters down to local commerce. I mean, the ubiquitous flag-colored stickers that are shaped like crabs and horses and labs that are bumper stickers. It's a self-perpetuating cultural mechanism that has absolutely made the reconciliation banner the undisputed visual identity of the state. Now, the flag's strength today does not derive purely from its colonial heritage, but rather from its utility in providing a solution to a crucial post-war political necessity: reconciliation. Had the flag been simply, using the Calvert arms, it would have lost both of that visual punch and the crucial narrative that makes it a symbol for all Marylanders. The complexity is the key. But the entire reconciliation story, this deep dive into the heraldry, the Civil War schism, the political compromise, and the cultural triumph, it's summarized and permanently cemented in one final, often missing legal detail. It is literally crowned atop the flagpole. In 1945, the General Assembly passed an extraordinary, highly specific piece of legislation, Chapter 862, Acts of 1945. It was a legal mandate that governs flag protocol to this day. Any ornament affixed to the top of a flagstaff carrying the Maryland flag must be a gold cross botany. Now think about that for a second. The cross botany is the specific shape used by Confederate soldiers, the defining element of the secessionist Crossland arms, the red and white maternal lineage. But it is required to be rendered in gold, the color of the Union-associated Calvert paternal arms. The state legislature, decades after the war, deliberately placed the symbol of secession, bathed it in the color of the Union, and mandated that it must serve as the pinnacle of state sovereignty. This definitive hybrid symbol ensures that neither side of the historical conflict can claim total victory, and frankly, that's the way that it should be. There is no honor in having your neighbors, your friends, your brothers and sisters die over a conflict like the Civil War. There is no victory in that. The Maryland flag is often misunderstood as a simple clash of colors or something that's just fun to look at, but it is in fact a work of political genius. And frankly, our politicians today could take some notes. It is the only state flag that is purely based on British heraldry. It's also one of the only flags in the nation that explicitly commemorates a Civil War compromise. It breaks every rule of design. It's complex, it's loud, it uses 4 colors, but it needs that complexity to tell the whole difficult story. The story of an aristocratic accident that created a divide, a violent schism that tore the state apart, and a powerful final act that mandated unity. It is a flag that wears its history, both painful and proud, on every single quarter of it. Thank you for listening to Stories in the Seventh State. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, review. We will try to come out with as many episodes as we can over the remainder of the year and certainly following into 2026. But we have so much going on right now with our different podcasts. You know, if you are just now tuning into the Housecats Podcast Network, we have a plethora of shows. Not everything is going to be for everybody, but we try to do stuff that's really interesting to us, and we hope that it's interesting to you too. Stories in the Seventh State is a podcast that focuses on local lore and legends and Maryland pride. We love history. I love history. I'm a sucker for it. We have the Open Floor podcast, where we really focus mostly on professional stuff that has to do with our day-to-day job, real estate, helping people buy and sell, what's going on in the world, what kind of things are happening, and what does that affect on our profession. We have the Night Shift, where we review some of our favorite movies. How do they age? How funny do they end up becoming over time, intentionally or otherwise? Some great behind-the-scenes stuff that you probably didn't know about your favorite movies. Those are always fun conversations with friends, just a fun way for us to connect with people, and that's what this is all about. So we do have more podcasts for you out there. Dealmakers is a podcast centered around interviewing people that we run across in our professional space that they don't have to sell real estate by any means, but they are people that are incredible at what they do. And almost all of them have one thing in common. No matter what space they are in, they're great negotiators. And I want to know more about their stories and share their stories with our audience, because I think it's important to connect people. So that's it for me today. We appreciate your listening, appreciate your time, and we'll catch you on the next one.